These Environment Committee agendas from Horizons Council show that of the 44 wastewater treatment plants in the region which discharge sewage into waterways, over half of their resource consents are either non-compliant or are expired. They tell of excesses of ammonia levels, E. coli, suspended solids, excesses of fecal coliforms. Some resource consents have been expired for more than 10 years. Yet we couldn't find one infringement fine or prosecution against the council, despite numerous fines and prosecutions against farmers. Christina Patton supports the other end of the political spectrum than most farmers. She votes Green and is an active environmental campaigner. But she agrees that farmers are being treated unfairly.
I don't have a problem with them prosecuting farmers as long as they are even-handed, and also prosecute the TLAs, the Territorial Local Authorities, or the district councils, so that people understand what I'm saying here, that I don't see them as being even-handed in their compliance.
We went to Horizons Council to talk to its chairman, Bruce Gordon. Now, Mr. Gordon, I've talked to farmers and other people in the area that think that Horizons Council is biased against farmers in terms of they'll prosecute them for breaching their consents or lack of compliance, but not district councils. Is this true?
Well, I don't know how anybody could say that, because our lack of prosecutions to farmers speaks for itself. I mean, we have 1 to 2 prosecutions maximum per year. So we're not out there prosecuting farmers. We're working with farmers all the time to help them get through their compliance issues.
Well, how many district councils have you prosecuted in the last year?
Well, we haven't been prosecuted any at this stage, but that's not to say that can't happen.
How many have you prosecuted in the last 5 years?
Prosecution, none, but you've got to remember that like dairy farmers, if everybody's making an honest attempt to achieve their consent conditions, then we don't prosecute farmers.
Are district councils making an honest attempt?
Absolutely they are, and you can see that through their long-term plans, the commitment that they've made, and part of this Manawatu River Leaders Accord, once again, the commitment is shown there in black and white.
According to your latest Environment Committee agenda, around half of the consents aren't compliant or have expired. How can farmers trust you to be fair and even when you're prosecuting them when half of the consents are expired or not being complied with, and nothing's happening to these councils?
Sorry, I have to disagree that they're not compliant. They might have an expired consent which they're working on to get the new consent process through, and in all cases that's happening. And if you want to look into the background of what's behind those consents, they've been treated no differently to anybody else. The work is going on.
Well, I've highlighted the sections here that says they're non-compliant.
No, you'll find that they've got some expired consents, but they're compliant against their expired consent.
For example, Manawatu District Councils, the West, you'll see they're significantly non-complied. 6 out of the 9 consents are significantly non-complied with due to higher levels, such as the E. coli levels.
On a given date, and they would have been given a significant non-compliance.
So do you admit now that they aren't complying?
There's been some non-compliance there, and it's been dealt with on a one-on-one basis. They report their non-compliance.
Some of these consents expired over a decade ago. For example, the Horowhenua District Council, the Shannon consent expired in 2001. Another one expired in 2003.
Well, hold on. You've got to go. The Shannon consent has been through hearing processes and been appealed by some plaintiffs there. It is sitting in that limbo area. Why that goes through the appeal period.
Okay, well then Taumarunui expired in 2003. Have they? I mean, that's almost a decade. Has anything been done about that?
Yes, the Chief Executive has been told to put them on notice that we expect that to happen, and if they don't provide the information, then we'll see it as a total non-compliance, and they will be issued prosecution.
We discovered since this interview that according to Horizons records, this site in Koitiata, Rangitikei, has never been assessed for compliance. It started operating in 1986. What message do you have for Horizons Council?
Quite honestly, I don't think they should be there. I think there should be the same thing that happened to ECAN. I think they should biff this lot out and get commissioners in, if you really want to know.
So why do you let district councils discharge sewage without a consent, but you don't let farmers?
They all have. There's not one there that doesn't have a consent. They might have
all of their many of these consents are expired.
John, they have expired consents, but they're still expected to comply with their old consent.
How long does it take to put a new consent in place? A decade?
No, of course it doesn't, and we're not happy about that at all. And we are taking. You can check with this council. You'll see minutes saying that these things have to be improved, and they have to be improved quickly.
Despite Mr Gordon's insistence that the council is even-handed, however, it seems its reputation precedes itself. Its attitude towards farmers is something Federated Farmers CEO Connor English knows only too well.
For me, I was quite amazed when I first started this job about 4 years or so ago, going into a meeting at Horizons, and they had a 2-hour debate about whether I could stay in the room. It was extraordinary. Such was their sort of animosity towards farmers. We wouldn't see the way that Horizons has conducted themselves in the last 5 or 6 years as an exemplar that we'd want other councils to follow.
This story really represents the current focus on the now popular phrase dirty dairying, while little attention is paid to the effect human sewage has on the environment. According to a report on water quality done last year, written by the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment, our waterways are worse affected from substances found in urban waste. An agribusiness professor told me councils go after farmers because it's more convenient politically and economically than to go after the district councils. Ultimately, ratepayers would have to pay the fines. That's not a popular move with the public. Some locals I talked to in the region suggested the regional council and the district councils are protecting each other's interests. Whatever the case, if this story on Horizons Council is symptomatic of what's happening in other parts of the country, we're aiming to find out. We've sent Official Information Act requests off to every regional council in the country to try and find out just how even-handed they are. We'll have that story for you as it comes to hand. I'm John Watson for the Daily Report.